All right, here is Keynesian cross video 3, and where I left off in video 1, kind of got cut off. I had built the consumption function, and I had defined for you autonomous consumption, the idea that anything above and beyond that is disposable income, and that the whole thing is called the consumption function. Okay, now after that, what I've done is I've now put on investment on top of that. And then I put government spending on top of that. We're basically taking those components of GDP and we're kind of building them up into that model of what would be aggregate expenditure. Okay, and C plus I plus G plus XN would be your aggregate expenditure. For this model, we are taking out any foreign trade. We're going to have a closed economy for the sake of just for the sake of keeping everything simple. Okay, so just a little review. We know that this slope here is the marginal propensity to consume, that this is consumption plus investment plus government, and each time it kind of starts at the level that it would be if there was no income coming into a country and how much it would increase, marginal propensity to consume, as that income increases. Okay. Now, one of the final analyses that we and I don't think you'd ever be tested on this, but it's just kind of worth us knowing, is that getting back to, and this might, I don't know if it's dark enough, but that 45-degree line, which I'm kind of like tracing here, ends here. So theoretically, this society, this is an inflationary gap here. Okay, because right now, this is our equilibrium right now, and the society is making more than they can sustain in the long run. Okay, and one thing that this graph shows us is that this would be called dissavings. Okay, this would be an example of an economy in an inflationary gap that is, they're spending more than they can sustain, they're spending more than they're kind of taking in the short term. Okay, so just to give you, and I'm going to do this one real quick, so it's probably going to be ugly, but if I could build a consumption C plus I plus G, and let's remember this is aggregate expenditure. This is all of them together. Okay, so if theoretically I knew this was going to happen. There we go. Let's say that we're here, and this is full employment. Okay, this would be an example of a graph that would tell us that we are currently producing right here. Right now, we're in a recessionary gap, okay, of that amount. And that would mean that while we're in that recessionary gap, that we are saving money, that we are actually spending less money than we're taking in. Okay, so as a whole, it really is a lot to take in. And as I said, if any of you go further in finance or economics to the point where you're combining it with math, you're going to be looking at this graph right about as much as your aggregate supply, aggregate demand curve. It really can tell you a lot. It can tell you about remaining inventories, stuff like that. Really crazy. But this is just an introduction to what it means in hopes that you can understand that. What we're going to do, and once we have these definitions, if you are able to apply this curve corresponding to an aggregate supply, aggregate demand curve, and just understand what you're looking at here, folks, you're really in good shape. We don't really need to know more than that. But I do like making sure that I introduce this because there's always a student that, really takes it in, really understands it, and it makes them think about an economy in a different way. Okay? Thanks to those of you that tuned in. Hope this makes sense to you. Please let me know if you have any questions.